All right, so get this. You want to know what's really going on in China, right? Not just the headlines, but the stuff you don't hear every day.
Yeah.
We're diving deep into Shenzhen, the place they call China's Silicon Valley. But here's the twist.
Okay.
We're going beyond just stats and figures. We're going for the vibe. How does it feel to be there? What's surprising? What totally challenges our assumptions?
Well, what's fascinating is that we have this firsthand account,
Right.
right, from a team who just visited. They weren't just tourists, though.
Right.
They were there on a mission to decode Shenzhen factories, conversations with locals, even checking out the cost of living. They did it all.
And hold on tight, because what they found is wild. Okay, so robots in hotels,
Oh, wow.
total normal there. Cash,
Really?
practically extinct. They've got this one app, WeChat, that does everything.
I've heard of that.
Seriously, picture Silicon Valley like getting swallowed whole by an app. That's Shenzhen.
Wow. That raises an important question, though. It's amazing how quickly technology becomes just part of everyday life there. But is that always a good thing? Think about privacy, how people interact. It even shifts the balance of power in the economy.
Right. It makes you think. And then there's this whole idea of China being all about cheap labor, right?
Yeah.
Turns out that's not the full picture anymore. The team was surprised to find that wages in Shenzhen are on par with a lot of other Asian countries.
It's easy to assume things about a place from far away.
Mhm.
But when you get down to it, China's dominance in manufacturing, it isn't just about cheap labor anymore. Their government actively supports industries. Their infrastructure is incredible, and the sheer scale of their operations. Wow.
Totally. They visited this one factory where a single person was running something like 20 massive machines, and they chatted with this vendor who casually mentioned how the government helped save his electric car company when it was going belly up.
Wow.
It's a totally different ballgame over there.
It really highlights how involved the Chinese government is, in shaping industries, especially those they consider vital. It's a different economic model than we're used to.
So before we get too deep into Shenzhen, maybe let's take a step back. How does a country's economy even take off like this in the first place? What are the key ingredients?
Well, there's a framework economists use to understand this. Robert Solow, a Nobel Prize winner, he identified three main factors that drive economic growth:
Okay.
capital labor and technological progress.
Okay, so let's break that down. So capital, that's basically the physical stuff, right? Factories, machines, roads, all the things you need to make and move goods.
Precisely. And labor is pretty straightforward. It's the workforce, the people with their skills and energy driving the economy.
Makes sense.
But what Solow found is that while those two are important, the real secret sauce is technological progress.
Makes sense, because if you can find better, faster, more efficient ways to do things,
Right.
you're going to squeeze more value out of the same resources,
Yeah.
new products, more output. It's all about innovation.
Yeah. Exactly. It's the constant pursuit of improvement.
I like that.
And that brings us to Shenzhen, because their story is basically a masterclass in how to ride the wave of technological progress.
Yeah, from sleepy fishing village to tech powerhouse, it's almost too wild to believe. So how did they pull it off? What flipped the switch?
Well, in 1979, the Chinese government did something radical. They designated Shenzhen as a special economic zone. Think of it like a giant experiment in economic reform, a place to try new things and attract foreign investment.
And boy, did it work. Our team actually got to see this firsthand at the Hangbei Museum. Imagine a huge LED map of Shenzhen lighting up to show how the city evolved.
Cool.
Plus, there were these cute little robots zipping around representing the future. It's like stepping into a time machine of tech progress.
It's a brilliant way to show how powerful policy decisions can be, especially when they embrace change head-on. You can practically feel the energy of Shenzhen's journey.
But they didn't stop at just attracting companies from overseas. The government went all in on infrastructure, roads, bridges, the works. They pumped money into education and nurtured a tech-savvy workforce.
That's crucial. They weren't just assembling products. They were creating a foundation for innovation. They were building the brains behind the operation.
So we've got the backstory, but what's it actually like to live in Shenzhen? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of daily life in this super connected city.
Here's where our team's firsthand experience gets really juicy. They give us a peek into how all this tech plays out on the streets. It's not just theory, it's real life.
Okay, picture this: facial recognition cameras keeping traffic flowing so smoothly no one even thinks about jaywalking. Electric vehicles are everywhere. It's like they skipped ahead to the future of transportation.
These are glimpses into a world where AI and automation are woven into the fabric of a city. Everything's optimized, And it might even change how people behave,
Fascinating.
right?
It's mind-blowing. And then there's this app, WeChat, that's like the Swiss Army knife of life in Shenzhen communication payments, ordering groceries. It's all through this one app.
The team was amazed by how deeply it's embedded in everything.
But that level of integration brings up some thought-provoking questions. When so much power is concentrated in one platform, what does that mean for individual choices? Are there downsides to this level of convenience?
It definitely makes you think. And speaking of surprises, get this.
Yep.
The team checked into their hotel, and guess what delivered their luggage?
What?
A robot.
No way. They couldn't believe it. It's a stark reminder that automation is no longer science fiction.
Right.
It's becoming a normal part of life, even in everyday tasks. Some people might find it a bit unsettling, but it also shows how technology can free up humans to focus on more complex and creative work.
Which leads to a really big question. With all this AI and automation popping up everywhere, what does it mean for jobs? Not just in China, but globally. That's the crux of it all. As machines get smarter, we need to rethink how we approach education and skills development. We need to arm people with the tools and knowledge to thrive in a world where the definition of work is constantly changing.
Luckily, there are resources out there to help people stay ahead of the curve. In fact, the team's report specifically mentions a program called IBM Skills Build.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a platform with free digital courses designed to give people the skills they need for today's rapidly evolving job market.
That's amazing.
And here's the really cool part. They have a new course that actually uses generative AI to teach software development. You can learn how to code switch between different programming languages and even fix coding errors, all with the help of AI.
That's a perfect example of how technology can democratize access to education. And honestly, with all these changes happening so fast, it's programs like this that could help bridge the gap between people and the skills they need.
Whether you're already a coding whiz or just curious about AI, it sounds like a fantastic resource. We'll definitely include a link in the show notes for anyone who wants to learn more.
It's a powerful reminder that even though the speed of change can feel overwhelming, there are ways to embrace it. We can equip ourselves with the knowledge and skills to navigate this new world.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from robots to AI to the future of work. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the human side of Shenzhen. What did the team learn about the people and culture there? Because let's be honest, we often hear conflicting stories about life in China.
Yeah, that's true. That's where firsthand accounts are so valuable. They cut through the noise and let us connect with the real experiences of individuals challenging those preconceived notions we all have.
Exactly. And one thing that really struck the team was the warmth and hospitality of the locals. They kept encountering friendly faces and people going out of their way to be helpful, which totally shattered some of their initial assumptions.
It just goes to show how personal interactions can bridge those cultural divides. We tend to form our opinions about other cultures from what we see in the media or hear from politicians. But when you actually engage with people one-on-one, you often discover shared values and commonalities that transcend national boundaries.
And it wasn't just surface-level politeness either. They had some genuinely touching encounters. Like they met this one vendor who was totally obsessed with Bollywood movies. Amir Khan was his absolute favorite.
It's such a great reminder that cultural exchange can happen in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes a shared love for a certain type of music or film can instantly create a connection and foster understanding between people from completely different backgrounds.
I love that. But their experience wasn't all sunshine in Bollywood. They also made some thought-provoking observations about social structures in China. For instance, they were really surprised by the lack of visible homelessness in Shenzhen.
Oh, interesting. That prompted them to dig deeper into the hukou system, which is basically like an internal passport in China. It's a pretty complex system that has a big impact on social mobility and access to resources, especially for migrant workers.
It's a good reminder that even in a country like China, where development is happening at warp speed, there are underlying social and economic complexities that shape people's lives. It's important to look at the whole picture to really understand how things work.
Absolutely. And speaking of understanding the realities on the ground, the team also collected some interesting data on the cost of living in Shenzhen.
Right, they actually broke it down for us so we can get a feel for what everyday expenses might look like in a city like that. For example, rent for a one-bedroom apartment outside the city center would set you back about 40,000 to 57,000 rupees.
That kind of information helps us make sense of the economic landscape. It moves beyond the abstract numbers and shows us what it's actually like for people living there.
And if you're looking to be right in the heart of the action, closer to the city center, you're looking at something more like 80,000 to 115,000 rupees for that same one-bedroom apartment.
Those figures really highlight the impact of rapid urbanization and economic growth on housing costs. It's a pattern we see in a lot of fast-growing cities around the world, as demand often outpaces the supply of affordable housing.
They even looked at things like transportation costs, which are thankfully super affordable in Shenzhen thanks to their amazing public transport system. A monthly pass will only cost you about 200 to 400 yuan, which is roughly 2,500 to 5,000 rupees.
This highlights the importance of investing in public infrastructure, especially in cities experiencing rapid growth. Affordable and accessible transportation is key to ensuring that everyone has equal access to opportunities. It can also help mitigate the negative consequences of urban sprawl.
So overall, it seems like the cost of living in Shenzhen is surprisingly reasonable, especially when you consider all the incredible technological advancements and economic opportunities the city has to offer.
It's a good reminder that economic progress doesn't always have to come at the cost of affordability. Smart urban planning and strategic investments in public services can create a more balanced and equitable environment for everyone.
Okay, so we've covered the tech, the culture, the costs. It's a lot to take in. But here's the big question. What can we, especially in a country like India, learn from China's remarkable journey? Is it about copying their model exactly, or is there a different path we can carve out for ourselves?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to economic development.
Right. So let's dig into some of the key takeaways from our deep dive into Shenzhen and see how they might apply to India's own aspirations for growth. It's a fascinating conversation to have, especially considering the similarities and differences between these two Asian giants.
Yeah, it's going to be good. One of the things that just jumps out from China's story is just how impactful, well-designed government policies can be.
It's like they had this clear roadmap and they just stuck to it with incredible focus.
They zeroed in on infrastructure development, poured resources into education and technology, and basically rolled out the red carpet for businesses.
And the results kind of speak for themselves. Shenzhen going from a tiny fishing village to a global tech hub. That's proof that long-term strategic thinking pays off.
It also underscores how crucial a government's role can be in fostering innovation, especially in countries that are still developing.
But it wasn't just about building fancy new roads and bridges. They understood that investing in people was just as important.
Exactly. They knew that having a skilled and adaptable workforce is the backbone of any sustainable economic progress.
And that's where their emphasis on upskilling and education comes in. They've cultivated a real culture of lifelong learning, which has helped them stay ahead of the curve in a world that's constantly changing.
That's a lesson India could really benefit from. We have a massive pool of talented individuals, but we need to equip them with the skills and knowledge to thrive in this modern economy.
So investing in education and training programs that focus on future-proof skills. Things like technology, data science, artificial intelligence, that could be a game changer for India.
It's all about empowering individuals to embrace new technologies and industries so they're not left behind as the job market keeps evolving.
And it's not just about technical skills either. It's about fostering critical thinking, problem-solving creativity, those essential human skills that will always be in demand.
Absolutely. It's about creating a workforce that's not just prepared for today's jobs, but also equipped to handle whatever the future throws at them.
And then, of course, there's the elephant in the room, the digital revolution. China has embraced technology and digital integration in a way that most countries can only dream of.
Their adoption of mobile payments, e-commerce digital services across all sectors, it's been nothing short of transformative.
Think about WeChat. It's become the go-to app for pretty much everything in China. Messaging, social media payments, shopping, even government services. It's mind-boggling.
That level of integration has streamlined daily life, boosted efficiency, and created a ton of new opportunities for businesses and individuals.
India has made some serious strides in digital adoption, especially with things like Digital India and UPI, but there's still a lot of room to grow.
Imagine a future where everyone has easy digital access to healthcare, education, government services, where businesses can use data and technology to reach new customers all over the world, and where every individual can fully participate in the digital economy.
That sounds like a future worth fighting for, and I think India has all the right ingredients to be a global leader in this space.
We have the talent, the entrepreneurial drive, and the technological foundation to make it happen.
But it's not about turning into a carbon copy of China. It's about taking the lessons that resonate with us and adapting them to our own unique context.
Exactly. India has its own strengths and its own path to forge. It's about leveraging what makes us unique and building a future that reflects our own values and aspirations.
So this brings us to you, dear listener. What can you take away from this deep dive into China's transformation? How can you apply these insights to your own life, your career, your understanding of the world?
That's a great question. And I think it goes beyond just the specifics of China's policies or technology. It's about cultivating a mindset of continuous learning, adaptability, and openness to new ideas.
Because in a world that's changing faster than ever, being able to learn, adapt, and evolve is crucial.
It's about understanding that we're not just passive bystanders in this whole thing. We shape the future through our choices, our actions, and our willingness to embrace the unknown.
And that's what's so cool about exploring these big, complex issues. It's not about finding all the answers, but about sparking curiosity, questioning assumptions, and getting a deeper grasp of what's shaping the world around us.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected, and the lessons we learn from each other's successes and failures can help us navigate this journey together.
So as we reflect on China's incredible journey, let's not just be impressed. Let's think critically about what worked for them, what didn't, and how we can use those insights to build a better future for everyone.
Maybe the most important question we can ask ourselves is this: what kind of future do we want to create for ourselves and for generations to come? What role will we play in making that happen?
Because the future isn't set in stone. It's a blank canvas, and we get to paint it with our imagination, ingenuity, and our collective determination to build a better world. So bringing it back to our source material, can India draw inspiration from China's experience while charting its own course for economic growth?
It's a question that's particularly relevant given India's ambitions to become a major player on the global economic stage.
We've seen how China used government initiatives, investment in human capital, and embracing technology to fuel their incredible rise. But is that the blueprint for India's success? Or do our unique circumstances require a different approach?
That's where things get really interesting. Because while there's a lot we can learn from China, we can't forget that India has its own distinct strengths, challenges, and aspirations.
So we've been unpacking China's journey, and it really makes you think, can India pull off something similar? I mean, becoming a global economic powerhouse, that's no small feat.
It's a challenge, for
Yeah.
sure. But, I don't think India needs to become a replica of China. We've
No.
got our own strengths to play, too.
Exactly. We were just talking about India's democracy, its young and energetic population, and that incredible entrepreneurial spirit. Those are some serious advantages.
Yet you can't underestimate those factors. In a world that's so obsessed with speed and innovation, India's democratic foundation and that startup mentality could be a real recipe for success.
And we can't forget about India's rich cultural heritage, the diversity, the different perspectives, and that long tradition of tolerance and inclusivity. Those are the things that make India stand out on the global stage.
Absolutely. It's a really powerful combination.
Mm.
Ancient wisdom meeting modern technology,
Yeah.
cultural richness alongside cutting-edge innovation. India has the potential to become a real force for positive change.
It's not about trying to fit into someone else's mold.
Oh,
It's about India becoming the best version of itself, forging its own path and using its unique strengths to build a future that benefits everyone.
yeah, that's the kind of vision that gets me excited, where economic growth isn't just about numbers, but about truly making a difference in people's lives, protecting the environment, and creating a more just and compassionate world.
It's a future worth striving for, that's for sure. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Shenzhen and China's rise, I hope you're walking away with a sense of possibility, inspiration, and maybe even a bit of responsibility. The future isn't preordained. It's something we actively create through our choices, our actions, and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
It's been great exploring all this with you. And to our listeners, remember, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the things that spark your curiosity. The world is full of fascinating discoveries just waiting to be made.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration. Until next time, stay curious and keep those minds open to all the wonders of the